Zara stood 7 feet tall with silver skin that gleamed like polished metal under the harsh lights of the detention facility. Her species, the Cathani, were bred for one purpose, only war. Her muscles rippled beneath bio-enhanced armor that had fused with her flesh decades ago when she first became a warrior. The scars across her arms told stories of 1,000 battles fought across distant worlds. The human facility felt strange to her. Everything was so small and fragile. She had been captured. During the failed assault on Earth 3 months ago, her people had underestimated these soft pink creatures. They fought with a ferocity that surprised even the Cathani war machine. Captain Jake Morrison walked into her cell without fear. Most humans trembled when they saw her, but this one was different. He carried himself with quiet confidence, his brown eyes meeting her violet gaze without flinching. He was shorter than her by nearly 2 feet, but something in his manner commanded respect. Jake had volunteered for this assignment against the wishes of his commanding officers. The other guards refused to interact with the alien prisoner beyond basic necessity. They saw only a monster, a killing machine from the stars. But Jake saw something else in those alien eyes, something that reminded him of caged animals he had rescued as a child. Every day he brought her meals and tried to make conversation. At first, Zara remained silent. Her training had taught her to reveal nothing to enemies, but Jake was patient. He spoke about simple things, the weather outside, books he was reading, the small garden he tended behind his quarters. His voice was calm and steady, unlike the harsh commands she was used to hearing. Weeks passed before Zara spoke her first word to him. It was thank you in broken English when he brought her fresh water instead of the recycled solution the other guards provided. Jake smiled, and she felt something strange flutter in her chest. It was not pain or anger, emotions she knew well. This was something new and unsettling. Jake began teaching her more English during their daily visits. He discovered she was incredibly intelligent, learning new words and concepts with remarkable speed. Her people had advanced technology, but they had focused entirely on warfare. The concept of art, music, or literature was foreign to her. One day, Jake brought a small music player to her cell. He played soft classical music and watched as her expression changed from confusion to wonder. She had never heard anything so beautiful. Her enhanced hearing picked up every nuance, every delicate note. The music seemed to reach something deep inside her that she had forgotten existed. As months passed, Zara began to change. The rigid, military posture softened slightly. She asked questions about human customs and emotions. Jake patiently answered each one, explaining concepts like friendship, compassion, and love that her warrior culture had stripped away. She learned that humans were not the weak creatures her people believed them to be. They possessed an inner strength that had nothing to do with physical power. Jake noticed the change too. The dangerous predator he had first met was still there beneath the surface, but something gentler was emerging. She began to show concern when he looked tired, offering insights about human behavior that surprised him with their perceptiveness. Her analytical mind, applied to understanding emotions rather than warfare tactics, proved remarkably effective. The first time she smiled, Jake felt his heart skip. He had been telling her about his childhood dog and the mischief it used to cause. Her lips curved upward in an expression that transformed her entire face, from fierce warrior to something almost vulnerable. The smile lasted only seconds before she caught herself and returned to her usual stoic expression. But Jake had seen it. Late at night, when the facility was quiet, Zara would practice the human expressions. Jake had taught her she would try smiling in the darkness, feeling the unfamiliar muscles in her face respond. She had been engineered for war, but these small human gestures felt like acts of rebellion against everything she had been created to. Jake brought books next, starting with simple stories and gradually introducing more complex literature. Zara devoured each one, her enhanced mind processing the narratives with fascination. She particularly loved adventure stories, finding parallels to her own experiences, but from a completely different perspective. The heroes in human stories fought not just with weapons, but with courage, honor, and sacrifice for others. The day everything changed started like any other. Jake arrived with breakfast and found Zara staring out the small window in her cell. She had been watching the sunrise, something she had never paid attention to during her years of warfare. The beauty of it struck her as profoundly as the music had months before. "Jake, they are coming," she said quietly without turning from the window. Her enhanced hearing had picked up the approaching Cathani ships hours before human sensors detected them. "My people have found me. They will expect me to escape and rejoin the attack." Jake felt cold dread settle in his stomach. He had known this day might come but had pushed the thought away. The connection between them had grown beyond professional interest, beyond even friendship. Though neither had spoken of it directly, the thought of losing her, of returning to the empty routine of his previous life, felt unbearable. "Will you?" she asked, still facing the window. The question hung in the air between them, unfinished but perfectly clear. Would he release her locks, help her, escape, return her to her people in their endless wars? Jake stared at her silver hair catching the morning light, and realized he was looking at the most important decision of his life, not just for himself, but for her. The woman who had emerged from the warrior deserved a choice she had never been given before, the right to decide her own path. The facility alarms began blaring as human sensors finally detected the approaching alien fleet. Jake could hear shouting in the corridors as military personnel rushed to battle stations. In hours, the Cathani would demand their warriors return, threatening terrible consequences if she was not released. Zara turned from the window, and for the first time since Jake had known her, he saw fear in her violet eyes, not fear of death or pain, but fear of losing the new person she was becoming. Fear of returning to the empty existence of a war machine. Jake reached for the control panel of her cell, his hand hovering over the release mechanism, looked into her eyes and saw not the alien warrior who had terrorized human colonies, but the woman who had learned to smile at music and cry over sad stories. The woman who had somehow learned to love despite being engineered for hate. The choice was hers to make. He pressed the button and the cell door hissed open. For the first time in months, Zara was free to leave. She stepped toward the doorway, then stopped. Her enhanced muscles could carry her to the roof, where she could signal her people. Within minutes, she could return to her ship, her weapons, her old life of endless battle. Everything she had been created for waited beyond that door. Instead, she turned back to Jake. In her violet eyes, he saw the answer to the question that had been growing between them for months. She had chosen love over war, humanity over her programming. The war machine had learned to be something more. Outside, the alarms continued to wail as two species prepared for battle. But in the quiet cell, two beings from different worlds had found something worth fighting for that had nothing to do with weapons or conquest. They had found each other, and in doing so had discovered what it truly meant to be alive.